On August 16, 2024, a beachcomber happened upon skeletal remains as he traversed Pinney's beach in Nevis. The skeletal remains, believed to be that of a woman between the ages of 50 and 60, appear to have suffered physical harm, which may have led to her death. ZIZ's camera operator Ajaye Evans and reporter Merv-Ann Thompson traveled from St. Kitts and visited the site with Terysia Herbert, director of the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society, on August 27, 2024.
Today we are at our Archaeology Center located in the Bath Plains area. And so we are here as a result of the skeletal remains that were found near Pinney's Beach on August 16th. So luckily we were concluding the 30th Congress of the International Association of Caribbean Archaeology, which is a congress that happens biannually, and it's just a gathering of archaeologists around the Caribbean trying to figure out the way forward for Caribbean archaeology. So this year it was hosted in Nevis for the first time, and it being the 30th year, it was very special. So it just so happened that we had maybe 50, 60 archaeologists on island. Tropical storm Ernesto actually delayed the conference by a day. But Ernesto also was the reason that the skeletal remains were unearthed, right, due to the erosion. So Ernesto just happened to be the gift that kept on giving for us this year. At the conclusion of the conference, most of the archaeologists were going back, but luckily, Professor George Abungu was going to be here for a couple more days to spend time with his family and on vacation, but he graciously agreed to come and view the body, and once he did, he agreed to excavate. And so the body, they took them 2 hot and sweaty days, but they were able to excavate the body, and so now we have the remains being held safely at the Archaeology Center, and then we're just trying to determine the way forward in terms of further testing, so that we could sort of get a better picture of what happened to this person, and then hopefully be able to give the person a respectable burial.
We also met with Kenyan archaeological professor Dr. George Abungu, who was tasked with leading the excavation. Interestingly enough, Dr. Abungu has familial ties to Nevis and happened to be on island for the 30th International Association for Caribbean Archaeology's biannual Congress, which was hosted at the Nevis Performing Arts Center, NEPAC, from August 13th to 17th. A proud father and grandfather, Dr. Abungu is also the CEO of Okello Abungu Heritage Consultants and is a former Director General of the National Museums of Kenya. He was, dare we say, guided by the ancestors and decided to accept the invitation to lead the excavation.
My name is Professor George Abungu. I'm a Kenyan, and I come from Kenya, of course, Africa. I'm an archaeologist. I'm a professor of archaeology and heritage studies. I've taught in many universities as well as work with the museums. National Museums of Kenya. I was once Director General of that institution. Nevis, connected by family. Lorna is my wife, and Juma is my daughter, and Kayatula, all of them living here, is my grandchild. So I'm connected with that, with Mr. Glover, Erica, and William Glover, who used to be own property here. So I was married to the family. That's how I first came here about 30 years ago, when I was very young. My interest in archaeology started at a very early age. I think it's basically curiosity. And I was influenced mostly by early paleontologist, archaeologists, notably the Leakeys. Leakey, the father of Richard Leakey, and Mary Leakey, the mother of Richard Leakey, who is world renowned, were great paleontologists from Kenya of British origin, and they excavated early hominids, the origins of humanity in Africa, in many places, Tanzania, in Kenya, did some work in Ethiopia. So they influenced me a lot. Then I left. I think when I went to secondary school, I didn't think much about it. But when I went to university, I had an opportunity to study archaeology, and I went for it. So I specialized in archaeology. I did my first degree in archaeology in Nairobi University. Then I went to England, to Cambridge University, where I did my master's and PhD. And after that, I have been practicing archaeologist. So I have excavated in many places, nearly everywhere in the world. And my latest excavation is in Nevis, but a month and a half ago, I was excavating in Mauritius, which was a different, totally different. Its climate is more or less the same. It's also an island, but it's a different story. It's about a story about which is also partly found in the Caribbean, piracy. You know, all the piracy sites. So I've been looking at some of these sites which have been recorded as piracy sites in Mauritius and also in a place called Rodrigues, which is part of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. But coming here, of course, I did not come to excavate. I came first of all for a conference, the International Conference of Archaeologists, the Caribbean Archaeologists. So I came there. We had days of discussions, did a presentation, and then I was told that there was someone lying on the beach in the form of a skeleton, and that if I could be willing to partake of the same and carry out an excavation. And when I went and I saw the person lying there and the water coming, and part of the skull was taken off, but part of the body could be seen, I felt both academically right as well as ethically right to be able to take part in removing that particular skeleton from the beach. And what we did was basically to have an intensive, what you call rescue archaeology. Rescue archaeology is one whereby you are basically doing rescue and you do it very fast, but you do it scientifically and within a very short time. So in 2 days' time, we were able to excavate the skeleton that now we have here. What that means is that we have done very detailed recordings. We have the skeleton, the human remain, and that human remain can then now be studied because a lot of the bodies, particularly this upper body and the stomach, are still concreted in the sand. It was very tough. I mean, this particular individual had been there and the body had been covered and the sand had concretized so much that it was hard rock. So we had to use picks, we had to use machetes. It was a difficult 2 days of work. At some stage, I was wondering whether I'd made the right decision to accept, but but I have no regrets. Yes.
So it's basically what you would say calcified?
Yes, yes. It's calcified rock of sand. So sand has developed, and because of compression of the heat and of water, it has become like cement. And so this body was cemented into that particular sandy rock on the beach. And that is what we had to do to make sure that we take out that body in a way that is respectable, but also a way that is scientifically viable for further examination and further scientific study. So we did our best, and it's here, lying here nicely, away from the waves where the waves were hitting her day and night. So now is in this fantastic archaeology, center, which is a fantastic facility, lying here waiting to be examined thoroughly, and so that we can know, the date of the death, the age. Maybe we can do DNA and we can be able to really gather more information. But the finding itself, what I found, are intriguing, because this individual was, we thought that this individual was lying facing up all through. And the open face, that open part, we did not know that was the back. We did not know that was the back of the individual. We thought that was the face, and the back was here. And one of the reasons why we thought so, because the lower limbs, including the pelvis, was open like that. The ribs, for me, which are mostly a little bit collapsed, also look as if they are facing up. Okay? But the leg, the lower leg, was twisted the other way around. It could have been act of water or whatever it is, and broken. Then as we were excavating, the second day, when we are now all along, I'd been touching, I knew every part of the body. And there was water on the skull, so we kept on scooping it. When I removed that skull and I turned it around, there was this face looking at me with beautiful teeth and still some skin.
Still what?
Skin.
Wow.
I will show you that if you want me to show you, if you promise not to run away, because it's harmless. And secondly, some of the conclusions that I'm making now are provisional. For me, it's a grown-up. Because of the pelvis, from what I saw, it appears to be a lady. And also from the teeth, you will see, it's got smaller teeth than normally. But the body is big, the bones are big, so it's a grown-up person. But very interesting and very complex is that this is definitely an old skeleton. It's been there for some time. It's not something recent. It's not something that was stamped there the other day. But it is so funny that the head was sort of twisted facing down. Whether it's the force of water, I have no idea. But it was facing down, and this part which I considered the left side of the body. When we were excavating, at the joint of the knee, I found charcoal. Then I found charcoal on this part of the body, and the leg of that part of the body, when I looked at it carefully, looks a bit charred, as if burning had taken place. And then I found some charcoal on the neck associated with the bone. Now, when we turned the bone around, the face was burnt. It's as if this person probably was burning and ran to jump in the water as a solution, and that is where she or he, and I still feel she, sort of got buried like that. So if you want me to show you, I can show you that, the face. There is still part of the skin, and the teeth is perfect, and the part of that skull is also charred, which means it is burned. I'm not saying that it was intentionally burned, but this person could have had an experience of burning, of some burning. Let me see if this will fit. Yes. So what we have is the skull, and this skull was lying like that. These are the ribs, and you can see the ribs very clearly. They are now a little bit broken because of the weather, and taking them from where they have been all this time, definitely we're exposing them to another climate. These bones here are much more whiter than these ones. You can see that these ones look much more brownish, and it was difficult to find that. the hand, the right hand, which was here, was put on, basically now on the face. The hand was on the face. The last hand was the hand on this side, which we found on the back of the head. Actually, it was on the face. So it was like this, because at first we thought it was the head, but it was basically on the face. Now, this is the face. You can see the teeth, small teeth, very complete, and is very tight. That is why we could not find. And you can see that this part of the body is charred. And you can see this is skin. All this part still has that skin. You can see that the skin is actually embedded on the head here, and very clear. There was part of the lower lips that were here. I think it's sort of dropped out as part of the skin. So this is the face of this particular individual, fully with the teeth, and the teeth is tightly sort of crunching it completely. But I think what to note is this sort of charred side, which was this particular part, this side. And the person had the face completely lying down like that, okay, with the hands covering that particular face. What it shows us at the moment, I cannot deduce, but what I can say is that this person probably was burning and decided to jump into the water. Alternatively, there could have been a reason that this body was partly burnt and then buried or thrown into that particular place, and over a period of time was covered. Down here, you can see part of the pelvis. This is part of the pelvis. The pelvis comes out. This is part of it. So it opens up, very much open. And in the picture, you will see it very, very clearly. And these are the upper limb, the femur. And this is the lower part with the knee here. You can see the really big bones. So this is where they were connected on this particular side, going down. Quite a tall individual. And the bones here are absolutely still in perfect condition. This is the other femur. This is not so charred like the one on this side. So these are part of the body. There are also other parts that have disintegrated, which will be put together, will be studied. But what this individual provides us is the intactness of the body, as well as the material that we can be able to use to date the body, to find out the sex of this particular person, and also find out the age, and even do a DNA study using the teeth and other parts of the body. So it's very complete, and we hope that it can provide us with a good material for study. And then the museum will decide at some stage what they want to do. Personally, as an archaeologist, yes, we do have individuals in the lab, but I think that at the end of the day, it would not be bad to probably now give this individual a good burial once the studies have been done. A proper, deserving burial of an individual that you have information about and that you have removed from the waves of the water, and where people are walking every day and actually walking even on the skulls. because when we were excavating, when we left for the night, we covered the whole body. But someone actually walked, and this particular part of the skull was complete, and they walked on it and broke it. So we have the piece, it can still be reconstructed, but it shows you that where this individual was a public walking space, and by taking this individual out of that space, we have removed this very important human remain out of the way of continuous, uh, people walking on it, and the waves and the sea banging it, and all pieces and everything going everywhere. So for me, I see this as something that is important and critical. But I would wish that when the studies are finished, that she can be given a proper burial.
With St. Kitts and Nevis experiencing its share of murders, families missing loved ones, and speculation abounding since the find, it wasn't far-fetched to think that these bones gave hope to close those cases. Sadly, Dr. Abungu says that is not the case.
No. Definitely not less than 200 years, I think. Because for that concretion.
Skin would still be intact?
Yes, this skin can be intact for thousands of years. You know those mummies of Egypt, the mummies of Egypt, they have full skin, and they've been there for 3,000-4,000 years. Now 200 years is nothing. As long as there is right conditions, for example, underwater, covered most of the time. This one was covered. This skin that you find is basically was concreted. So it was preserved in that particular concrete sand. That is what has preserved it. The rest of it you can see, because of the water and other elements, even the bones are very clean. So the skin has all been taken. The only skin remaining, and that is absolutely important, that skin has to remain there, because we can do a lot of tests on that. It's the skin on the face, which was burnt and therefore embedded on the bone. So that skin is very unique. You can see that the open side has got no skin, but the face and the eye here on the right face, that is where the skin is. And it's very rare to find. But once it had been there, it means that nothing interfered with it. The other thing that I wanted to say is that it's as if the head was twisted. Whether that head was twisted to face down immediately that time, or it was with water, is another story. But the fact that there is burning, and there is no question about that, because we have charcoal on the parts of the body, and we can see it here, that could also show us something, that this person was in distress. Yeah.
You said you were called, is this your first excavation in Nevis, particularly?
I have walked around Indian Castle and all those places. All these sites I've walked around, but I've never excavated. So this is my first excavation in Nevis.
How was it for you? Other than being called from the Archaeological conference, was it exciting because of your ties here and because of being an archaeologist?
You know, being an archaeologist is like a calling. It is like being a priest or a nun. Once you are hooked into it, you are hooked onto it. So for me, for you, that I have a relationship with this, in that a human relationship and also an academic scientific relationship, that have been able to take this body out, and that they will be able to preserve it and study it and understand it and give it the right way of treatment. So it was exciting. That's why I took it. If it wasn't exciting, I would not have taken it. Secondly, for me, it was an opportunity to be able, chance opportunity. It's a chance find, what you call chance find, of a human being on the beach. And I felt it my duty as an archaeologist to be able to provide that, so that it doesn't just become another skeleton on the beach, but it becomes a human being excavated, studied, understood, and then later maybe buried properly. So yes, it was exciting, but it was tough 2 days. You can see my hands have got sort of
Calluses?
Yes, so that shows that it wasn't very easy, Merv-Ann. It wasn't very easy. But it's exciting. That's my job, and I love it, and I do it. So when I'm excavating, I am in a different world. I just do it. It just comes. The pain comes later.
So what pain did you feel?
The pain, I was bitten by mosquitoes, and when we were excavating, all the others were being bitten by except me. I said I was not being touched, and mosquitoes and these insects really love me. I think it's my blood. So my daughter was there, Lorna was there, they were being beaten, but I wasn't being beaten. Lupi came, he must have been beaten. I wasn't being beaten. But then once I finished the excavation the next day, after this lady had been taken from there and had rested there, I never slept that night. This was so itchy, these two, and they were swollen. So it means that I was being beaten, but consciously I could not, because I was so much immersed in that particular work. I had no time to think about the pain. But it's fine. I'm okay. I'm good. I think that we've done a great job.
All part of a day's work.
The part is done. The work is done, and it's done well. And now it is for people, others, to come and provide their services and study this skeleton in a beautiful and in a proper way. And I just want to thank you also, because for you to take your time and to come here and to, do this shows that you recognize science, you recognize humanity, and you recognize the need to be able to promote, things like this. So for me, that is important. Yeah.
This is not the first time skeleton bones have been unearthed in Nevis. There were similar finds in the late 90s and early 2000s, circa 1998, 2003, and 2004, according to persons at the NHCS. In 2010, a team of researchers and students sought to expand on excavations that were conducted in the 1998 find, according to the report Beyond Time Team, Archaeological Investigations at Coconut Walk, Nevis, West Indies, 1st July to 4th August 2010. It was authored by Keita K. of the Institute of Archaeology at UCL, Scott Fitzpatrick of North Carolina State University in the USA, Michael Kappas of QLC Interes, the Netherlands, and Victor Thompson of the Ohio State University. In that find, according to the report, quote, parts of a single human burial were uncovered, including a section of the maxilla, that is, the jawbone, complete with 3 molars. Preliminary studies of the teeth suggests the individual was in the mid-teens at death. End quote. The NHCS and Dr. Abungu are hopeful that research can be undertaken by international agencies to reconstruct the life that was lived, one that could possibly tie into the plantations of Pinneys and Montravers. Merv-Ann Thompson, Ajaye News, Pinney's Beach, Nevis.